important. So who knows what it will look like moving forward, whether Donald Trump will be the candidate or not. We haven't exactly gotten clarification on what 2024 is going to look like for the 45th president. But what we do know is that MAGA, that America First, it's not going away. We're not going anywhere. And guess what? Right Side Broadcasting Network will be there every step of the way to cover MAGA, to cover America First, to cover the 45th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, because we believe this is the blueprint for American prosperity and American success moving forward.
Absolutely, and the reason I asked you about the apparel of the people here, there's so many people that are still wearing, MAGA gear, and like you said, MAGA isn't going anywhere. Absolutely, and the reason I asked you about the apparel of the Republican Party, there's so many people forever that are still wearing, MAGA gear, and like you said, MAGA isn't going anywhere. Absolutely, and the reason that the entire apparel is changed forever, and there's so many people, Donald Trump still wearing, MAGA gear, and like you said, MAGA isn't going anywhere. Absolutely, and the reason that the entire fire, despite all the changes forever, and all the hate and the backlash, he has taken so much hate, so much criticism, so many threats, and he still fought for the United States. He never gave up on us, and he showed the American people what it means to have a backbone. We are the party that will not give up on this country. We love it too much to back. We will never back down. And also, mentioning different interviews, I had the opportunity to interview Morgan Zegers yesterday. A few of our other correspondents got to interview Dr. Ben Carson, and Philip Torino actually had the opportunity to interview Matt Gaetz. So Philip, tell us a little bit about that. How was that experience? What are some of the comments he made that you can share with our viewers who might not have caught that interview?
Well, Adrian, it was a great experience. Matt was very friendly and super kind and willing to take the interview right off the bat. He was at another news network just down the line, and I was able to grab him, and he gladly came to the Right Side Broadcasting Network booth, where we had a great talk about his experience here at CPAC, what he spoke about on stage about primarying the Republican in name onlys like Liz Cheney and Mitt Romney. He's going to be a crucial part of the primary process in elections moving forward, because Matt Gaetz is a fighter from Florida. Now, it's important to note, in such weird times, I'm not actually speaking of physically engaging in violence. I'm rather saying holding the line, supporting a cause strongly, and Matt has done a great job about that. And I really encourage you to check out the interview. Go back in our YouTube and check out that video, because really it's going to be something that you're not going to want to miss. He gives advice to young leaders, people who are saying to themselves, I want to be like Matt Gaetz. I look up to him as a role model. I want to have a future in the GOP. I want a piece of this pie moving forward. What can I do? Matt says the best thing you can do is build your social media platforms as big as possible across the board. I want to go ahead and take a second. We're going to toss it back to the studio. Matt was very friendly and super kind. In Alabama, on behalf of Right Side Broadcasting Network, the best thing you can do is build your social media platforms.
Don't listen to the lies about this stage. It is plenty pretty. And now we're getting it very safe. I will tell you that everything's going according to schedule with the President of the United States. He will be here very soon. Since we're in Florida, it's nice and air conditioned in here, because the one thing I always know about my Floridian wife, as they love that air conditioning. I like your sign, ma'am. That's a very pretty flag back there. And in the meantime, for a few moments, we wanted to remind you all that it's not just the people in this room who are watching and listening to this content. Obviously, people from all over America, if social media is allowing it to happen. I hope you're all getting your feeds. But you know who else is watching? The whole world. The whole world is looking at America and saying, is America going to embrace socialism or fight back? And so we're going to give you a little indicator of how CPAC and the American conservative movement is working with freedom-loving people overseas. Please watch. CPAC, the whole world is watching. Guess what? Today's CPAC is the biggest and best we've ever seen. Folks, we are making a difference.
Well, it's that time of year again, CPAC time. The leaders of the conservative movement have long met in the Washington area each year for an event called CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference.
It's an amazing conference, super amazing leadership team.
The ACU has been the single most uniting force behind the conservative movement.
It has been a gathering place for decades with presidents and lawmakers and pop culture figures.
If you're going to CPAC at National Harbor, volume right now in Oxon Hill on the Beltway at 210.
I understand there are 13,000 people there. It goes up a little bit each year.
Matt and the ACU bring together so many conservatives from around the country in one place.
I'm reminded of the Reagan Revolution, and we're trying to light the match of that revolution again in a positive way.
Quietly, mysteriously, the Republican Party has become the party of ideas.
The organization's proven itself over time from Ronald Reagan to Donald Trump.
I actually started quite a while ago in CPAC, came here, probably made my first real political speech, and I enjoyed it so much that I came back for a second one, then a third, then I said, what the hell, let's run for president, right?
Well, the president may have won an award for being one of the longest presidents to actually speak at a CPAC event. This speech went well over 2 hours.
It's wonderful to be back with so many great patriots, old friends, and brave, young conservatives. What a future you have.
Freedom, as Reagan told us, is not passed down in the bloodstream from one generation to another. Freedom, instead, you got to stand up, you got to fight for it, you got to defend it.
I am with you, I will fight for you, and I will win for you.
You need to come here with like-minded people. If you ain't trying to hear nothing about no socialism and all that foolishness, you need to come here with other like-minded people that's talking about capitalism, that's talking about you being free.
Our freedom, our people, our traditions, our families. But without freedom, none of it is possible. And that comes from the big guy, not the government.
All these young people here, everywhere you look, there are groups of millennials who tell us they are dedicated to growing the conservative movement, but admit, frankly, it's not cool on many college campuses to come out and say you're a conservative.
We're not going to have a conservative movement if we lose this generation.
Today I'm proud to announce that I will be very soon signing an executive order requiring colleges and universities to support free speech if they want federal research.
You've gotten coverage this year that I'm not sure I can recall ever you getting, so congratulations.
Amazing energy. It's the grassroots activist Super Bowl.
It's obviously the Super Bowl for conservatives.
Being conservative, being liberty-minded, being freedom-based, and CPAC is what makes America great.
It's our first CPAC. We're just here taking it all in.
It's my first CPAC, having an awesome time, and the reason I'm here is President Trump saving our country. I never would have come knowing for President Trump.
You know what I like about this? Number one, I'm in love, and you're in love. We're all in love together. We've done something that nobody's ever done.
Well, President Trump loves CPAC, and CPAC loves President Trump. It's a mutual, strong relationship. It's the fact that the president knows that when he comes to CPAC, he's at home. He's with his people.
You know, I first went to CPAC during the Reagan years, where Reagan was a conservative president, but CPAC was much to the right of even where President Reagan was. And now it is right in the center. It is the Republican Party.
How's CPAC doing? Good? My man, stand up, please, will you? He's the one, he said, you should run. Right? Matt said, it's like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and I made a speech, and then they do some kind of a straw poll. Who made the best speech? They voted, by far the best speech was Trump. He calls me, he says, you should run for politics. I say, what do I know about politics? But you know what? We learned quickly, and our country has never done better than it's doing right now. So it's pretty good. But thank you, Matt.
You know, a couple of years ago, when a whole new team of people started leading the ACU, we thought that what happened during the 4 days of CPAC was so important that it actually had to occur every moment of every day on the calendar year. You know, we're kind of stuck in the swamp, and most people obviously live very far away from the swamp for good reasons.
People all over the world who are saying it's now our time to pursue this kind of freedom. We've got about 28 different countries now that are asking us to help them put on CPACs in their own countries.
Sounds awfully exotic to this Kansas kid. We're going to go to Australia. We're going to have the first CPAC.
They have a combination of hope and desperation. They want to help their fellow countrymen pursue freedom and attain it. And at the same time, they are so aware of the forces arrayed against them.
It was rather shocking to see that the legislature in Australia literally wanted to ban us from coming, and some of our speakers.
The Home Affairs Minister is encouraging a cavalcade of intolerance to continue at CPAC's Talkfest of Hate.
The first Australian Conservative Political Action Conference will get underway in Sydney today amid ongoing controversy.
CPAC was a debate within the Australian Parliament, the very fact that we would go there. So what that tells me is that the First Amendment that we have in our Constitution, which is a concept that we think is mostly accepted in these other free countries, actually isn't.
He nearly did more to drum up publicity for a Conservative conference on the weekend than anyone else, smearing any other Conservative who dared to turn up and discuss politics with other Conservatives.
We get to Australia. We were not arrested, but we ran into Antifa, hundreds of Antifa protesters protesting us in Sydney, Australia.
CPAC really must buck their ideas up. I'm told that only 200 protesters are expected today. You really must do better than that next year.
I went out to see it because I couldn't believe it. I thought Antifa was an American radicalized left-wing phenomenon. No, it's not. It's gone global.
What I'm really excited about what the American Conservative Union is doing is you're going to create relationships across borders between like-minded people.
You know, we are part of an international movement. Whatever our countries, we're fighting against these big globalist forces.
But everybody lining up and telling us that if we dared to vote for Brexit, plagues of black locusts would descend on our land. But it didn't matter. We voted Brexit, and then a few months later in America, despite the fact that on that very morning, the Huffington Post said that Hillary, the blessed Hillary, had a 98% chance of winning. And yet what happened? The Donald swept to victory. Who'd have believed that?
Some people have asked me, why is ACU getting involved in these international programs? We're the American Conservative Union, after all. We're not the International Conservative Union. The forces arrayed against us are growing faster than the alternative. You've got the George Soros billionaires and others who are funding these efforts. They don't like the idea of individual liberty. If we do not take this opportunity, freedom could be lost.
The whole world is watching. What does America do in 2020? It's not an American question. It's a question they're asking in all the major communities around the globe. We went to our third CPAC in Tokyo, Japan.
All these Asian leaders are coming to me saying, we have to have the U.S. leadership because collectively, we Asians cannot fight this on our own. If the U.S. stands alone in this world against socialist nations, we will lose.
Just as President Trump says, fake media is running rampant, especially here in Japan. Everything they say is a lie, and you really can't trust the news. And Japanese people don't really understand what's going on or why it's happening.
We think about the fact that our rights are slowly being eroded by runaway courts and by an increasingly radicalized and socialist Democrat Party. That is a fact, but it's not uniquely American. These rights are being eroded all over the globe.
One of the most serious challenges our countries face is the specter of socialism. It's the wrecker of nations and destroyer of societies.
They are watching America because they fear that if America ever goes socialist, in essence, America stops being America. That means that the future for their country is very dark, because what left-wing American presidents do through their foreign policy, they push the most radical parts of their agenda all over the globe.
Socialism and communism are about one thing only: power for the ruling class.
I fear the future of Japan is quite dangerous. Japan has gotten a little too used to peace. They're not prepared for what could happen if they don't wake up. There's going to be trouble.
You're going to have conversations that will improve understanding between different nations that don't even speak the same language. And Japan and America and countries like Australia and the UK, these are the cornerstones of Western values and free markets.
We invited one of the Hong Kong protesters to address the audience, Andy Chan. When Andy left to go to the airport and when they went to board their plane, police arrested Andy because he was going to go to a CPAC in Tokyo.
As you all know, I was detained and arrested for riot when I departed to Japan. I'm now released without being charged and on bail. This is the second arrest I have encountered in a month.
They arrested him. That was shocking to me. I mean, first of all, why does CPAC matter that much? Why are these communists so afraid of letting someone simply give a speech?
ACU's founding charter, December 1964, is very clear of what we stand for and why. It includes opposing socialism everywhere we find it.
But I'm just one of the thousands who were arrested, and we anticipate that many more Hong Kong citizens will also be arrested in the future. The situation in Hong Kong is dire.
Protesters in Hong Kong are begging the United States and specifically President Trump to help them in their fight for democracy. Tonight, some prominent American conservatives are meeting them in the semi-autonomous territory.
This Hong Kong movement for democracy is something every American needs to pray for, needs to try to support, because the Chinese regime in Beijing is probably more vulnerable than we realize.
You're looking at a face-off on one of the main roads in Hong Kong this Sunday afternoon. At one end, protesters with umbrellas ready because of the tear gas which will be shot by police.
With the suppression that we're seeing from the Chinese communists towards these peaceful protesters, there was a genuine concern that Matt, Dan, and several other of the ACU staff would end up in jail.
We would hear people say, "I will die for freedom," and they meant it.
We're here to support you. I know.
This morning, anti-government protests in Hong Kong reaching a new level of violence.
Tens of thousands marched to the US consulate pleading with President Trump to liberate Hong Kong. The American flag held high as the crowd sang America's national anthem.
strong leadership coming from President Trump has put some of these regimes on the precipice. And I'm hoping that they fall the right way, which is freedom for their people.
Shannon, I've just never seen anything like it. What you have is literally thousands of mostly what I would call students or kids, teenagers, some as young as 12 years old have been arrested.
Something I hear all over the globe when I travel. People in MAGA hats, people saying, please tell your president that for the first time we have an American leader who's got our back, who's on our side.
They're willing to give their lives for this struggle. It's a very emotional thing to see young people committed to democracy.
It's completely the opposite of what they hear when they turn on CNN International in their country about how much the globe is so embarrassed of Donald Trump.
The movement is now receiving support from members of the Conservative Political Action Conference here in the U.S. The conservative group joined student protesters, some as young as 12.
I had a young man come up to me. I looked very American, clearly, on the streets of Hong Kong, and he said, "Are you with CPAC?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm with CPAC." He goes, "Thank you for being here with me." It makes you almost want to tear up. These are really important times.
Our last night in Hong Kong, this great patriot who stands for freedom, Jimmy Lai, invited us to his house.
And when we showed up at Jimmy's house, there were members of the media who were essentially communist spies from media outlets owned by the communist regime in Beijing. They were there to harass us, to make us feel unsafe.
Filming us as we were walking in, videotaping us, recording who we are, why we were there.
We had this conversation around the table. What's at stake? What are the chances that this comes out well for the people of Hong Kong? What are the chances that a Tiananmen Square type episode occurs? Will there be this violent, bloody crackdown? And as we said our goodbyes, we headed back to our hotel. We all went to sleep, and not many hours later, we were woken up to the news.
The home of Hong Kong media tycoon Jimmy Lai was attacked early Thursday morning by a firebombing.
Two masked men lit glass bottles on fire in front of Lai's residence and lobbed them at the gate. The firebombs were seen as an act of intimidation against the pro-democracy tycoon.
They were sending us a very clear message. Don't meet with Jimmy. They were sending Jimmy a very clear message. Don't meet with the CPAC guys. And I think they were also sending us a message that it was time for us to leave. We are in Minneapolis, Minnesota, a really important state for a lot of reasons.
It is great to have the ACU here in Minnesota, home to the only congressional delegation that makes Nancy Pelosi look moderate.
Today's September 11th, the 18th anniversary of September 11th, 2001.
Just in the backyard of where we stand today is a congresswoman who does not like America, who stands for Islamic radicalization. She's the one who said some people did something.
CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something.
So we went up there on 9/11. We held an event called Some People Did Something.
They've convoluted the whole idea of September 11th and yet another shaming for what they see as racism. And I think it's politically motivated, and I think we have to call it out and make it stop.
We invited Dr. Zuhdi Jasser to be with us today because 18 years ago, he was the man who stood on the grounds of 9/11 and said, it's not appropriate to build a mosque on these grounds. He's Muslim himself, but he understood what building a mosque on bombed territory would mean.
My family was kicked out of Syria and got political asylum here. Most Muslim majority countries don't have even close to the freedoms that we have here.
Some people did something. Well, people like Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, they did something. They helped rebuild America. They helped promote American values.
The one thing I kept hearing from the people of Minnesota was, why don't more people come here and talk to us? Nobody's showing up in Minnesota, but we're going to show up. It's right for the pickings for conservatives.
In Minnesota, the biggest thing we can do is get the message to the people. That's why I'm here today speaking in Minnesota. When I came out of my addiction, I'm going, okay, what's a liberal, what's a conservative? I'm going, gee, every one of my values fall right here in the conservative aisle. I've learned so much about this deep state swamp. They didn't have our president's back. We have the highest consumer confidence in history. These attacks, everything he's done and promised that we talked about,
has already happened or is going to happen. I can't believe anyone in our country would not want to keep going down that path.
If Americans sit back and let a bunch of elites in Washington, D.C. or in their state capitals determine how they're going to live their lives, this whole American experiment is over.
You get this bubble that goes on there where they think that only the people who are inside that bubble are the best and brightest, and only those people know how to tell other people how to live their lives. I think that's the most dangerous thing about Washington, D.C., New York, the Acela corridor.
Donald Trump couldn't find Ukraine on a map if you had the letter U and a picture of an actual physical crane next to it. The credulous boomer Rube demo that backs Donald Trump that wants to think that Donald Trump's a smart one and there, y'all elitists are dumb.
You could put half of Trump's supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
You elitists with your geography and your maps and your spelling.
Many who support the president administration are either racist, steeped in religious beliefs, ignorant, or as my mother used to say, just plain dumb.
All those lines on the map.
Only them elitists know where Ukraine is.
Do you think that people who support President Trump and his immigration policies are racist?
Anyone who supports this is supporting racism.
The racist, sexist, homophobic.
My math and your reading.
Yeah, you're reading. Your geography, knowing other countries, sipping your latte.
Xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
They really do look down their noses at least half of America. It's no wonder their ratings are in the tank.
You know what you can go do? I can't say that.
We are in Reno, Nevada for the first annual CPAC West.
Thousands gathered at Corley Ranch to express their concerns about the current political climate.
We believe so strongly in ensuring that America stays strong, stays free, and doesn't turn into a socialist country.
It's nice to see like-minded people, because sometimes I feel like we're a little isolated.
Yeah. We're outnumbered.
Yes.
That's what you would think if you were watching mainstream, or what people call the mainstream media.
The crowd completely understands the Trump phenomenon. Why? Because he's taken on the left and he's taken on the media lead. And he is willing to keep fighting for the American people.
You were there yesterday.
Yeah.
Just came from Minnesota, and today we're kind of planting a flag in Nevada to say that this is conservative country.
It's very different from the East Coast elites that we find so often. It's the rugged individualist. It's this John Wayne kind of attitude to how you should live your life.
We have to take our state back. And we got farming, we got ag, we got cattle, we got everything, and we got to take them back. And we just can't let the liberals, the socialists, try to run this state.
We joined with ACU to create the first ever CPAC West right here in Reno, Nevada, a swing county and a swing state. Not only is it important to Trump's reelect, it's important that Western libertarian values of individualism retain a strong foundation in our country and our politics.
Bernie Sanders was in Denver the other day and said the same thing as Barack Obama, appealing to his crowd, his supporters. Help me transform America.
We will not only win this election, we will transform this country.
The envy of the free world, the greatest country on God's green earth, they want to turn it on its head and change it forever. That's what's at stake.
I'm a new conservative. I came to CPAC to meet other like-minded people who are completely supportive of the Constitution and Bill of Rights.
I had one wonderful woman come up to me here at CPAC West and literally said, I'm inspired. I want to take action. I want to do more. And that's what we need. For too long, the Democrats have been the ones to organize effectively. It's our turn now. It's our turn for conservatives to take that banner, to win in 2020.
Korea
CPAC kicks off in Seoul, South Korea, and it's hosted by the American Conservative Union.
Just make the statement, CPAC South Korea, and think about it for a little bit.
South Korea boasts the fourth largest economy in Asia, hence the nickname, the Korean Miracle. But South Korean President Moon Jae-in is on track to changing that. Moon, often accused of imposing Marxism on Korea, shows alarming simpatico for the communist policies of North Korea.
The threat of communism on the peninsula is growing, and this whole socialism threat that we have here in our country is really a problem in so many corners of the globe. CPAC, South Korea. I had to keep pinching myself. Are we really going to go right in the middle of all that and have a CPAC? And would anybody show up?
Korea CPAC concluded to a packed ballroom in Seoul's Grand Hyatt Hotel. Though 500 were expected for the debut event, more than 1,000 Koreans showed up, spilling into overflow space at the hotel.
Try to move towards socialism.
I'm here able to learn about the people in South Korea and the trials and tribulations that they have that are not so different in some sense from some of the things that we're seeing in the United States.
In South Korea or in free countries around the globe, political disagreements should never be criminalized.
What America's been facing for the last couple of years is what Korea is now facing for itself. It's a generational change. It is an inflection point of what kind of a life do you want to live. If you don't make your stand now, it may never come again.
People in Georgia are just as sick of the swamp as many of us in Washington who are fighting it. We've got to take our country back.
Georgia is mainly Republican, conservative, Christian, family value people. Democrats coming in from other states who don't live here with big money backers coming into our districts trying to edge us out.
When you think of Georgia, you think of it being a solidly red state. The fact is, our research shows that there's a real change happening in the state.
Congressman Doug Collins is doing a great job. He calls it like it is. He told us about all the shenanigans going on with the rules and the laws in Washington that the Democrats don't want to follow, and it's not right.
Georgia is now the 8th largest populous state in the country. And the fake news and liberal media keep saying we're a toss-up state.
Let me put it in Trump's terms. He's going to win bigly in Georgia this time.
The American Conservative Union, as long as I've been in Washington, has been the most important organization of the right in America. And in many ways, and this is important, in the world. On top of that, there are these regional meetings that it holds, such as this one here in Atlanta. I mean, this is incredible. And then all these international meetings, Tokyo, Seoul, Brazil, across the globe, they're everywhere.
Of course, the greatest thing about going to Brazil is just the spirit of the people. I mean, they want to sing, dance, chant, hug. Our biggest message from America is the following. Number one, what you're doing in Brazil, you're giving us hope. Hopefully what we're doing
Hey everybody, I hope you're well. Welcome to the special Sunday edition of President Trump's speech at CPAC. We just lost audio, and I think it's on right side, but I will double check that. If you guys would let me know if you've lost audio as
Here is
well,
a very
right
nice
there.
opportunity.
Here it's coming back now. So we should be good. They just lost audio for a little bit. welcome everybody. We've got about 1,500 beautiful humans in the theater today. Looking forward to hearing President Trump's speech. And I'm just hanging out and letting you learn.
CPAC's chief organizer, Matt Schlapp, handed the former president a prime speaking slot, closing out the conference Sunday.
Back to it.
I like the fact that he wants to stay engaged. Now, you can say that he lost the election, but his supporters, 73 million.
Well, he did lose the election.
You can say that he lost the election, and
He did lose the election.
Yeah, but I'm
responsible for the deadly insurrection.
He gave a speech, and then there was a violent insurrection.
That he was responsible in part for what happened.
If
Why can't you deal with that reality?
Oh, I deal with reality every day, and I even watch CNN, and I can be just fine with that. But if you believe somebody used inappropriate words to spur violence, and you can't come up with the words, then you're making stuff up. And you should stop it.
I'm not doing it. Liz Cheney did it. Mitch McConnell did it.
Look,
Kevin McCarthy did it. They did it. They said it.
If you want to highlight a handful of Republicans who voted for impeachment or conviction, it's certainly you're right. This is the First Amendment. You can pursue anything you want. You can't make up. You can't say there was some intent in someone's brain that they never said in words, and that resulted in some kind of violence. Give me the words, and then I have to deal with the fact that maybe somebody I love did something that I don't agree with. But when you make it up, give me one word they said. One word. One single word.
Let me ask you.
50,000 steps.
But he's also not that protected here, I guess. There's no snipers or anything. They continue to say that the election was stolen, right? And that just isn't true.
Were there any illegal ballots cast in that election?
I suppose there might have been.
So how many?
But Bill Barr
So how
said,
many?
his own attorney general
So how
said
many?
not enough to overturn the results of the election.
Bill Barr, believe it or not, had no
court decision after court decision. He put 3 justices on the Supreme Court. They didn't agree with him.
You just told me that that's actually not right. You just told me that there was illegal voting in the last election. You don't know how many. Did you sit down with the team in Nevada? Let me finish. Did you sit down with the team in Nevada or Georgia, these states, and ever go through the binders of information that good patriotic Americans came up with?
But
did you ever
enough
talk
to overturn the results of the election?
How could you know that when you don't know the number? Are
Joe
you that
Biden
good at
won by
math?
7 million votes.
I love how
with
you're
306 electoral votes. How is it that there's just no way that that's
Well, what I'd
possible?
like you to do is to read Time Magazine and to read the New York Times and to read the Washington Post, where they're saying it's less than 100,000 votes that separated the two men electorally. And you just said that conservatives spurred violence, but you can't use any words. You admit that there's
I didn't say
illegal
all
voting.
conservatives, but
You
I said there were Trump
you
supporters
said
there
that
for
there's
sure.
illegal voting. You have no idea how much, but you are certain what the impact
Isn't this the big lie conference?
That's what the Nazis used to say, Jim, you're better than that. You're better than that.
You're comparing. You're
comparing me to a Nazi.
No, I'm not. I'm
Yes,
saying
you
this
are.
is the big lie conference.
I love you, man. I'm glad
Do you
you're
get
here.
responsible?
Yeah, I'm ready like this. Text Joe.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Schlapped. Oh, that's great. Schlapped. I love that interview with...
Here, clearly that wasn't the case, and it was nowhere near where we were originally stationed outside where the majority of the people were. He just moments ago on this street here, which is Convention Parkway, rode by in the motorcade, which is why you saw the double screen of us sprinting down the street. We didn't have our microphone. We just ran out here as fast as we could, and we didn't get it. But the motorcade did come in a few minutes ago and turned on the street down there to go into the building. I think that that's probably the way that they'll come back out, since they went there with the vehicle. So it's very possible we could get him leaving on this side of the street, but I imagine people are going to figure that out and come down here and stand on the side. But that's what we were doing. We came out here to try to get a shot of Trump coming in on the motorcade, and we weren't able to do it, but we had to run completely around the building to try to get that shot for you guys. So that's what we were trying to do. And maybe we'll be able to get it on the way out. We'll see what happens, but that's what's going on out here. There's so many people out here all around the building now. You can see the law enforcement on bikes trying to keep everything civil and safe, but that's what's going on out here. So he should be speaking momentarily, but you can see, like, even on that street corner, that's nowhere where we were nowhere near that street corner an hour ago. So there's thousands of people out here on the street all over in Orlando, outside of the Hyatt Regency for CPAC, where Trump will speak in the next 15 minutes, I'm assuming. As soon as he gets inside, he's going to speak, so we'll clearly throw it back into Philip and Adrian, who are standing by whenever we're ready. Whenever Joe, our CEO, says we can go back inside, we'll do that. But there's a large crowd of people out here. There's a lot going on. We thank you guys for tuning in and sticking with us. Again, we apologize. We got information that he was already here and that the motorcade had come a different direction. So we had no reason to not believe it, but clearly that was not true. So lots of people outside to support the president. It's incredible. We got, I believe these are Vietnamese. Incredible. Love to see it. Love it.
Like star-shaded. Like I could even get a meal because I didn't have to. One thing we need a
We've got some sound issues again with Right Side Broadcasting, folks. I like to go with the right side because right side is your nomination for the presidency of everybody. We're up over 1,700 people. Great to have you here. I have a one in the chat. Please let us know if you're actually and the bot guy. We are going to make our country great again.
Accept your nomination for the presidency of the United Trump's the man, Biden's in the pan, putting in something to crash. Trump's the man, Biden's in the pan, the President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for watching Right Side Broadcasting Network. Today, I am joined with...
Okay, folks, let me know if you're hearing me now. That was Cindy. Let me know that you could not, and I didn't have the chat up here. So now I'm getting to the chat here, and let me know if that's better. Let's see. Okay, let's see if we can hear it. Let's see. Yes, good here. Awesome. Thank you guys. Awesome. Alrighty. So I'm keeping an eye on the convention center and also the outside the CPAC. Hope you guys are enjoying this. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, so I know what I have to do. This should be done internally within the eCam software, but I have to do it manually, going back and forth from the monitor to here. So, sorry for the delay on that. And basically what I was saying was that I know that there were many that were trying to get to the CPAC. So please let me know if you made it there. If you're on the, in the scene here, I'd love to hear from you. You know, you can reach me at davesned@gmail.com, and also you can probably get my attention in the chat. And we got some great patriots gathering in Orlando that are, as you saw, CPAC is all about conservative action, and certainly as a conservative, keeping the communism out of not only America, but ideally keeping it out of anywhere near us, right? Because basically what's happening is, and I've talked quite a bit about this, is that the spread of communism here we go. Here's the shirt, guys, and we're getting that dialed in here. So there's the indoctrination of David Snedeker Truthcast. Check your coat. Established 1871, and of course we got the magnifying glass /Q happening there. All right. So good to see you all. Reach out if you're there. You're welcome. I'm glad to bring everybody together here today. Here's one of my main motivations for making this happen today. Is I had to move some things around. Not obviously, but I had to move some things around. But one of my main motivations for doing what I'm doing right now today is that when you hear some of these folks talking about being here and being at some of these CPAC conferences, you hear them talk about how awesome it is to be with like-minded folks, right? Sorry about that. To be with like-minded folks. And so I want to, just bring like-minded folks together. Snedheads coming together and enjoying, first of all, not only the speech from President Trump, but many of you guys are watching this over the weekend. And thank you guys about this T-shirt. And we're going to get those available to you here shortly. Snedapalooza. Hey, Don. Yes. Luna, just wanted to come say hi, Dave. This is full of patriots here. Awesome. Awesome. Yes, it is. Trump is inside. Yes, I knew the motorcade happened there very, very recently. And just so, I'm just going to do a little experiment here because I want to make sure that, hey, Richard, I want to make sure that you guys are getting sound. So I'm going to jump over to the CPAC so that we're ready to jump over with President Trump here, and then I'm going to and I want you to just give me a 5-5 if you could hear it. Here we go.
And obviously some of you can hear in the background the typical campaign playlist is playing. It's a great time. As I said earlier, we are here in CPAC in Orlando, Florida. If you're just joining us, I'm joined by Adrian Ferguson, and we're having a great time here on the press risers in the Hyatt Regency in Orlando, Florida. As you know, CPAC is typically held in Washington, D.C., but it was not held there this year due to some restrictions that the government there has put in place. So they came down here.
And back to me. Yeah, we're good. 5-5. Awesome. Awesome. CPAC is louder than your voice. Yeah, it's a little loud. But now, could you hear my voice over the CPAC video? Okay. You could hear, but through the announcers. Okay. Difficult to hear over the announcers. Okay, good to know. Because what I could do is I can also do the following here. And let me pull that up. I do that. I do this, and
We interviewed
here.
them, and it's amazing to
and
witness the
if I
growth
go
of RSBN so far, from the campaign trail to here at CPAC.
So if I lower that background volume, you guys can still hear me. Is that correct?
So far is all
You have a little background at CPAC, and then you can hear me. Yeah.
mention how they love our coverage.
Dee Dee, you're welcome. Great to have everybody together here.
And that is just
Okay.
something I have loved to hear.
Okay,
every day.
come
I've
on,
heard
POTUS.
it probably
Yeah.
a million times.
You can hear
that
me?
people
Cool. And I
trust
just
us. They
tuned
know
that down
we
so
are
we can
providing
go.
the very most truthful information. Very much
I can just
truthful
tone that
coverage
down so you
that
can
we
hear
possibly
me, and
can.
then you guys can also
Because
see.
it's especially important,
Awesome,
and it's
awesome,
extremely
great,
hard to find it this-
awesome.
this day and
Thank you,
age
Cindy.
with all this
Okay,
misinformation,
so
We're glad that
I'll
we
let
are
you
not
guys
a
see
fake
this
news
because
network.
I
We are not
think
CNN,
I want you
we are not
to.
CNN. We are not the Jim Acostas of the
You know,
world.
want you to
We are
know
tellers,
that when
and
you're
that's
looking
what
out
we
into
aim
this
to
crowd
do.
here, I
And
think
we
it's
wouldn't
so
be able to
awesome
do it
that
generous support and
that
our
they're,
loyal viewers.
you know,
So
it's
we're
going to be
so
more
grateful for
important
you.
than ever
for all
to
that you do
gather
for us.
without President Trump's rallies that we've all, many of us have been to. I'm talking about the January 6th one for me. That was the first one I went to. And and so it's just, it was just amazing to connect with people there in the way that I did, in the way that so many did. Because you're able to just be yourself and to just speak freely and not feel like you're being censored or anything, right? And so annoying lower background. Here, I can do that. I don't even have to do that. I can just mute it, and then we can go to it. But I wanted you to just to see this, and I know many of you are looking, but as we're gathering, okay, I don't know how many people are in that room, but there are almost 1,700. Let's get up to 17. That would be cool. 1,700 in Snedeker Theater here, and we are, a lot of people gathered to talk about conservative values, talk about Donald Trump and his work to fight against the impending communism that has been so apparent, not just in the presidential race against Joe Biden and the other members of the Democrat Party that were aligning and running against him, and the others, but just that that we're seeing so much of the communism spreading throughout the land in education, in the public indoctrination of public radio, public television, the mainstream media. And this is all, it's not so much when you think about the communism, when you think about socialism as the well-strewn pathway to communism, you can really get a handle and a feel for how wrong it is if you're really thinking logically. And when I say thinking logically, in order to think logically about a particular event, it's absolutely vital that in your process of thought that you are actually also thinking historically, like what has happened historically, to tell us what's good and what's not good for the planet, for humanity, and that's an understanding of those who went before us. And when you think about the importance of learning from other people's mistakes, I can't remember who said to me, or if I read it somewhere, but said to me, learn from other people's mistakes because life's too short to learn from your own. And we've heard Abraham Lincoln say that if we don't learn from history's mistakes, we'll be condemned to repeat them. And so anytime you think logically about the communism, socialism, that is being taught to our children, that is being taught as the only compassionate way to move forward as a civilization, as a country, you must bring in the past into that logical thinking. Otherwise, you're not thinking with empirical evidence at your disposal. And if you're not thinking, pulling up empirical evidence at your disposal, then you're not accessing information that is so readily available to us to move forward into our future with. And when you see the mainstream media, when you hear so much of the propaganda that is being thrust upon us, it is imperative for us to understand that their tools of communication, of manipulation, their tools are rhetoric and false information. That's the only way that they can attempt to sell us on a narrative that just simply will not serve humanity. There's just no other way to look at it. If you look at the pathway of socialism, it leads to communism, which leads to genocide. And it leads to mass damage to humanity. And so it's so important for us to know the history of it. Now, so knowing the history of this and knowing how obvious it is, it's one of the things that many of the, many on the left will perpetuate. Okay, guys, let me get over there. Let me get you back over there, and let me get the sound dialed in here.
Good afternoon. You all look wonderful. Well, it is such an honor to be with all of you here today. My guest, oh, thank you. Now listen. My guess is that a year ago, most of you had no idea who I was. But unlike the DC media, I'm sure that you all at least know that there are 2 Dakotas, and that I'm the governor of the warmer one. Now, I'm here today to share some of the lessons from my state. I think the main question that needs to be answered this weekend is, why does America need conservatives? Now, the question of why America needs conservatives can...
I have some questions for you. Does your protein mix go down easy without any bloating or stomach?
We're back. Sorry about that. And here we go.
Well, thank you very much, and hello, CPAC. Do you miss me yet? Do you miss me yet?
All right, I'll see you after.
A lot of things going on. To so many wonderful friends, conservatives, and fellow citizens in this room and all across our country, I stand before you today to declare that the incredible journey we begun together, we went through a journey like nobody else. There's never been a journey like it. There's never been a journey so successful. We began it together 4 years ago, and it is far from being over. We've just started. Our movement of proud, hard-working, and you know what this is? The hardest working people, hard-working American patriots, is just getting started. And in the end, we will win. We will win. We've been doing a lot of winning. As we gather this week, we're in the middle of a historic struggle for America's future, America's culture, and America's institutions, borders, and most cherished principles. Our security, our prosperity, and our very identity as Americans is at stake, like perhaps at no other time. So no matter how much the Washington establishment and the powerful special interests may want to silence us, let there be no doubt we will be victorious and America will be stronger and greater than ever before. I want to thank my great friends, Matt and Mercedes Schlapp. Matt, thank you. Thank you. Mercedes, thank you very much. And the American Conservative Union for hosting this extraordinary event. They're talking about it all over the world, Matt. I know you don't like that, but that's okay. All over the world. I also want to pay my love and respect to the great Rush Limbaugh, who is watching closely and smiling down on us. He's watching and he's loving it, and he loves Catherine. Catherine, thank you for being here. So great. Thank you, Catherine. He loved you, Catherine. I will tell you that. So fantastic. Thank you, Catherine, very much. To each and every one of you here at CPAC, I am more grateful to you than you will ever know. We are gathered this afternoon to talk about the future of our movement, the future of our party, and the future of our beloved country. For the next 4 years, the brave Republicans in this room will be at the heart of the effort to oppose the future of our beloved country. For the next 4 years, the brave Republicans in this room will be at the heart of the effort to oppose the radical Democrats, the fake news media, and their toxic cancel culture. Something new to our ears, cancel culture. And I want you to know that I'm going to continue to fight right by your side. We will do what we've done right from the beginning, which is to win. We're not starting new parties. You know, they kept saying, he's going to start a brand new party. We have the Republican Party. It's going to unite and be stronger than ever before. I am not starting a new party. That was fake news. Fake news, no. Wouldn't that be brilliant? Let's start a new party and let's divide our vote so that you can never win. No, we're not interested in that. No, we have tremendous, Mr. McLaughlin just gave me numbers that nobody's ever heard of before. More popular than anybody. That's all of us. It's all of us. Those are great numbers, and I want to thank you very much. Those are incredible numbers. I came here and he was giving me 95%, 97%, 92%. I said, they're great, and I want to thank everybody in this room and everybody all throughout the country, throughout the world, if you want to really know the truth. Thank you, Doug. Thank you. We will be united and strong like never before. We will save and strengthen America, and we will fight the onslaught of radicalism, socialism, and indeed, it all leads to communism once and for all. That's what it leads to. You'll be hearing more and more about that as we go along, but that's what it leads to. You know that. We all knew that the Biden administration was going to be bad, but none of us even imagined just how bad they would be and how far left they would go. He never talked about this. We would have those wonderful debates. He would never talk about this. We didn't know what the hell he was talking about, actually. His campaign was all lies, talked about energy. I said, you know, this guy actually, he's okay with energy. He wasn't okay with energy. He wants to put you all out of business. He's not okay with energy. He wants windmills, the windmills that don't work when you need them. Joe Biden has had the most disastrous first month of any president in modern history. That's true. Already the Biden administration has proven that they are anti-jobs, anti-family, anti-borders, anti-energy, anti-women, and anti-science. In just one short month, we have gone from America first to America last. If you think about it, right? America last. There's no better example than the new and horrible crisis on our southern border. We did such a good job. It was all worked. Nobody's ever seen anything like we did, and now he wants it all to go to hell. When I left office just 6 weeks ago, we had created the most secure border in U.S. history. We had built almost 500 miles of great border wall that helped us with these numbers, because once it's up, you know, they used to say a wall doesn't work. Well, you know what I've always said? Walls and wheels, those are two things that will never change. The wall has been amazing. It's been incredible, and little sections of it to complete. They don't want to complete it. They don't want to complete little sections in certain little areas. They don't want to complete, but it's had an impact that nobody would have even believed. It's amazing, considering that the Democrats' #1 priority was to make sure that the wall would never, ever get built, would never, ever happen, would never get financed. We got it financed. We ended catch and release, ended asylum fraud, and brought illegal crossings to historic lows. When illegal aliens trespass across our borders, they were promptly caught, detained, and sent back home. And these were some rough customers. I want to tell you, some rough customers were entering our country. It took the new administration only a few weeks to turn this unprecedented accomplishment into a self-inflicted humanitarian and national security disaster. By recklessly eliminating our border, security measures, controls, all of the things that we put into place, Joe Biden has triggered a massive flood of illegal immigration into our country, the likes of which we have never seen before. They're coming up by the tens of thousands. They're all coming to take advantage of the things that he said that's luring everybody to come to America. And we're one country. We can't afford the problems of the world as much as we'd love to. We'd love to help, but we can't do that. So they're all coming because of promises and foolish words. Perhaps worst of all, Joe Biden's decision to cancel border security has single-handedly launched a youth migrant crisis that is enriching child smugglers, vicious criminal cartels, and some of the most evil people on the planet. You see it every day. Just turn on the news. You'll see it every day. Under my administration, we stopped the child smugglers. We dismantled the criminal cartels. We greatly limited drug and human trafficking to a level that nobody actually thought was possible, and the wall helped us a lot. And we protected vulnerable people from the ravages of dangerous predators, and that's what they are, dangerous, dangerous predators. But the Biden administration has put the vile coyotes back in business, and it has done so in a very, very big way. Under the new administration, catch and release has been restored. Can you imagine? We work so hard. Catch, you know what that is. You catch them. You take their name. They may be killers. They may be rapists. They may be drug smugglers. You take their name and you release them into our country. We did the opposite. We not only didn't release them, we had them brought back to their country. Illegal immigrants are now being apprehended and released along the entire southern border, just the opposite of what it was 2 months ago. They weren't coming because they couldn't get in. Once they think they can get in, they're coming, and they are coming at levels that you haven't even seen yet. By the hundreds of thousands, by the millions, they'll be coming. The Biden administration is now actively expediting the admission of illegal migrants, enabling them to lodge frivolous asylum claims, and admitting them by the thousands and thousands and thousands a day, crowded together in unsanitary conditions despite the ongoing economic and public health crisis, COVID-19, or as I call it, the China virus. There's no masks. There's no double masks. That was a new one that came out 2 weeks ago. First, Fauci said, you don't need masks, no good, no. Then all of a sudden he wanted, now he wants double masks. No social distancing, no nothing. They're together, and it's sad, actually, and it's sad for them, and it's sad for our country. What the Biden administration is doing to push young migrants into the hands of human traffickers and coyotes is dangerous, immoral, and indefensible. Hard to believe it's happening. Biden has failed in his number one duty as chief executive, enforcing America's laws. This alone should be reason enough for Democrats to suffer withering losses in the midterms and to lose the White House decisively 4 years from now. Actually, as you know, they just lost the White House, but it's one of those things. But who knows? Who knows? I may even decide to beat them for a third time, okay? Beat them for a third time. Joe Biden defunded the border wall and stopped all future construction, even on small open sections that just needed to be finished up. Routine little work, it's already been bought. Wait till the contractors get to them and they say, no, it costs us much more money not to finish the small section than if we finished it. That's going to be nice. Wait till you see those bills start pouring in. He revoked the executive order cracking down on deadly sanctuary cities. He has effectively ordered a shutdown of ICE, halting virtually all deportations. Everyone, murderers, everybody, no more. Let's not deport people. And restricting our law enforcement professionals, and they are great professionals. You have many of them represented here today, from conducting almost any immigration enforcement of any kind. The Biden policy of releasing criminals into the U.S. interior is making America into a sanctuary nation where criminals, illegal immigrants, including gang members and sex offenders, are set free into American communities. They have no idea who's coming up. And remember, with the caravans, these countries, not only the three of them, but many, many countries all over the world, they're not giving us their best and their finest because they're intelligent. They're not giving us their best and their finest. Remember, I said that. I said that a long time ago when I made the first remarks, when I came down the escalator with our great future First Lady, who says hello, who loves you as much as I love you. But I said that a long time ago, and we turned out to be 100% correct. Biden's radical immigration policies aren't just illegal. They're immoral, they're heartless, and they are a betrayal of our nation's core values. It's a terrible thing that's happening. The Republican Party must hold Joe Biden and the Democrats accountable. They ripped up the diplomatic agreements we negotiated with Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador to shut down illegal immigration. You know, they got a fortune. They got paid $500 million a year. When I came into office, those countries were refusing to take back illegal alien gang members, including MS-13, the most vicious, probably of them all. No matter where you go in the world, MS-13, they do things that even the worst don't think about. So I asked, how much do we pay these countries? How much do we pay them? Sir, we pay them approximately $500 million a year. It's a lot of money. I mean, it's peanuts compared to the way other countries rip us off, but that's a lot of money. I said, okay, we aren't going to pay them anymore because they wouldn't take back the criminals. And this was true with the Obama administration. It was true for many, many years. So we'd catch a murderer, we'd want to bring him back to Guatemala or Honduras, El Salvador. They wouldn't take him back. No, we don't want him. We'd fly him in, they wouldn't let the plane land. We'd bus him in, they wouldn't let the buses get anywhere near the border. And I said, we're not going to pay him anymore. So after I said that, and I stopped payment, you know, like a term that we use in the world of business, let's stop payment. So we stopped payment. They were delinquent. We stopped payment. And they very quickly came to the table and we made a deal, very quick deal. We still kept the money. We still didn't pay because we made a deal. And when illegal aliens came across our border, they were rapidly deported and lovingly accepted by those countries from where they came. And it worked out great. So now they accept the people. And then we ultimately got along very well with those countries, those three countries, and many countries throughout the world because they respected us again. They didn't respect us. They couldn't believe what they were getting away with. But now Joe Biden has wrecked this great deal, wrecked it. And they're already doing what they were doing before, and they're taking the money. And that's just a small portion of what's going on. To top it all off, the Biden people are pushing a bill that would grant mass amnesty for millions of illegal aliens while massively expanding chain migration. That's where you come in and everybody comes in, your grandmother, your father, your mother, your brother, your cousins. They come in so easily, so crazy, so crazy. It even requires that the U.S. government provide illegal border crossers with taxable funded lawyers. Anybody need a good lawyer? You can't have one. They get the lawyers. They get lawyers. They're probably very good, too. The Democrat immigration bill is a globalist corporate. You take a look at the corporatists. big tech attack on hardworking citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. And Republicans must ensure that it never is allowed to become federal law, which is what they want to do. We must stand tall in the party. We have to do this. We have to stand tall as the party for law-abiding Americans and others when they're in our country. Border security is just one of the many issues on which the new administration has already betrayed the American people. He didn't talk about this stuff. I debated him. He wasn't talking about this. He wasn't. What he signed with those executive orders, they weren't things that were discussed. We didn't know all about him and the press because they're fake news. They're the biggest fakers there are. But the press refused to ask the questions. And when I asked the questions on television, on the debate, Chris Wallace in this case and others refused to let him answer. They refused to let him answer the questions. Maybe we could have found something, or if the media did its job, which they don't. Their callous indifference to working families is equally clear when it comes to the critical matter of getting America's children back to school. And they must get back and get back right now. Right now. Crazy. Terrible. Terrible. The Biden administration is actually bragging about the classroom education they are providing to migrant children on the border, while at the same time millions of American children are having their futures destroyed by Joe Biden's anti-science school closures. Think of it. We're educating students on the border, but our own people, the children of our citizens themselves, are not getting the education that they deserve. There's no reason whatsoever why the vast majority of young Americans should not be back in school immediately. The only reason that most parents do not have that choice is because Joe Biden sold out America's children to the teachers' unions. His position is morally inexcusable. You know that. Joe Biden has shamefully betrayed America's youth, and he is cruelly keeping our children locked in their homes. No reason for it whatsoever. They want to get out. They're cheating the next generation of Americans out of the future that they deserve, and they do deserve this future. They're going to grow up, and they're going to have a scar. It's a scandal of the highest order and one of the most craven acts by any president in our lifetimes. It's the teachers' union. It's the votes. And it shouldn't happen. And nobody has more respect for teachers than I do. And I'll bet you a lot of the people within that union, they agree with everything I'm saying. Even the New York Times is calling out the Democrats. The mental and physical health of these young people is reaching a breaking point. Tragically, suicide attempts have skyrocketed, and student depression is now commonplace and at levels that we've never seen before. The Democrats now say we have to pass their $1.9 trillion boondoggle to open schools, but a very small part of it has to do with that. You know where it's going. It's going to bail out badly run Democrat cities, so much of it. But billions of dollars for schools remain unspent from the COVID relief bills that were passed last year. So on behalf of the moms, dads, and children of America, I call on Joe Biden to get the schools open and get them open now. It'd be a great thing to do. When I left office, and we're very proud of this because this was something that they said could not be done. The FDA said it. Everybody said it. Any article you read said it. Couldn't be done. It would be years and years. I handed the new administration what everyone is now calling a modern-day medical miracle. Some say it's the greatest thing to happen in hundreds of years. 2 vaccines produced in record time with numerous others on the way, including the Johnson & Johnson vaccine that was approved just yesterday. And therapeutic relief also. If you're sick, we have things now that are incredible. What has taken place over the last year under our administration. It would have taken any other president at least 5 years, and we got it done in 9 months. Everyone says 5 years, so 5 years. Can you imagine if you had to go through what all of the countries of the world who are now getting the vaccine or soon will be getting it from various companies, but can you imagine if all of those countries had to go through what they've been going through over the last year? You'd lose hundreds of millions of people. I pushed the FDA like they have never been pushed before. They told me that loud and clear. They have never been pushed like I pushed them. I didn't like them at all. But once we got it done, I said, I now love you very much. What the Trump administration has done with vaccines has, in many respects, perhaps saved large portions of the world, not only our country, but large portions of the world. Not only did we push the FDA far beyond what the bureaucrats wanted to do, we also put up billions and billions of dollars, $10 billion, to produce the vaccines before we knew they were going to work. It was called a calculated bet or a calculated risk. We took a risk because if we didn't do that, you still wouldn't have the vaccines. You wouldn't have them for a long time. So think of that. We took this bet. We made a bet because we thought we were on a certain track. But you'd be starting to make them right now. It'd be a long time before you ever saw them. It takes 60 to 100 days to manufacture and inspect new doses. And that means that 100% of the increased availability that we have now was initiated by our administration. 100%. In fact, the director of National Institutes of Health, Francis Collins, he's Fauci's boss, actually. I think he's a Democrat, too, by the way, recently said that our Operation Warp Speed was absolutely breathtaking and that the Trump administration deserves full credit, which we do. And as conservatives and Republicans, never forget that we did it. Never let them take the credit because they don't deserve the credit. They just followed. Now they're following our plan, but this has been something that they really call it an absolute miracle. Joe Biden is only implementing the plan that we put in place. And if we had an honest media, which we don't, they would say it loud and clear. By the time I left that magnificent house at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, almost 20 million Americans had already been vaccinated. 1.5 million doses were administered on my final day alone. 1.5 million in a day. Yet Biden said just a few days ago that when he got here, meaning the White House, there was no vaccine. He said, there's no vaccine? Oh, good. Say it again, Joe. Now, I don't think he said that, frankly, in a malicious way. I really don't. I actually believe he said that because he didn't really know what the hell was happening. But never let them forget this was us. We did this. And the distribution is moving along according to our plan. And it's moving along really well. We had the military, what they've done, our generals and all of the people, what they've done is incredible. But remember, we took care of a lot of people, including, I guess, on December 21st, we took care of Joe Biden because he got his shot. He got his vaccine. He forgot. It shows you how unpainful that vaccine shot is, so everybody go get your shot. He forgot, so it wasn't very traumatic, obviously, but he got a shot. And it's good that he got a shot. Last year, I predicted to you that the extremism, corruption, and incompetence of the Biden administration would be literally unprecedented in American history. Unfortunately, he has proven me 100% right. Already, as president, Biden has urged Congress to pass legislation shredding your Second Amendment. Your Second Amendment is in far bigger trouble than you know. And for 4 years, I fought like hell to save your Second Amendment, and we saved it 100%. We saved it. He signed an order to conduct politically correct far-left indoctrination trainings in every department of the federal government, including the U.S. military, after I had terminated these horrible things that were being preached to our military. And he wants it to go forward. It's insane. Within his first few hours, Biden eliminated our national security travel bans on nations plagued by terrorism. His first priority was to open our borders to unvetted travelers from Libya, Yemen, Syria, Somalia, and many other countries where strict vetting cannot occur, countries that have tremendous problems, countries with tremendous terrorism problems. We did a travel ban. It was a real achievement. We told those countries, sorry, straighten out your act. We don't want people coming in where they had an ideology or a problem. We just couldn't have it. And it was incredible. How it worked was incredible. And he terminated it. We had to get it approved. It went all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States. We got it approved, and he terminates it. In addition, he's already increased refugee admissions by nearly 10 times, but in effect, it'll soon be hundreds of times as millions of people flow up through our soon-to-be open borders. And by the way, the Border Patrol and ICE, these are some of the great heroes of our country. These are incredible people. I got to know them very well. Your family still cannot go out to eat at local restaurants, but Joe Biden is bringing in thousands upon thousands of refugees from all over the world, people that nobody knows anything about. We don't have crime records. We don't have health records. What are they bringing in with them? When I left office, we had virtually ended the endless wars. These endless wars, they go on forever. They go on forever. I would go to Dover and I would see caskets, coffins coming in. I'd see the parents and the wives and the husbands. I would see the kids. Endless wars, 19 years in Afghanistan. We have it down to almost nothing left, and I hear they might want to go back in. Iraq. Remember, I used to say, don't go in, but if you're going to go in, keep the oil. Well, we went in and we didn't keep the oil. We had made historic peace deals in the Middle East, like nobody thought were even possible, with not a drop of bloodshed. And by the way, not one American soldier has been killed in Afghanistan in over a year. Think of that. Not one. Those troops have largely come home. At the same time, the new administration unilaterally withdrew our crippling sanctions on Iran, foolishly giving away all of America's leverage before negotiations have even begun. Leave the sanctions, negotiate. Does anybody understand what I'm saying here? Are there any good business people? You don't have to be a good. Are there any bad business people? They took off the sanctions. They took off the sanctions. They said, well, we're going to not have any sanctions. Let's negotiate a deal. I don't know, Matt Schlapp. I don't think you would have done that. Do you think so, Matt? I don't think so. Mercedes wouldn't have. No, you do that, you make a deal, and then you do it. They wanted. I will tell you something, and I said it. Had we had a fair election, the results would have been much different, and we would have had a deal. We would have had a deal with Iran within the first week. They wanted those sanctions off. He took them off for nothing, for nothing. Now you watch how tough they negotiate. In another horrendous surrender, he agreed to get back into the World Health Organization for approximately $500 million a year, which is what we were paying. When I withdrew from the WHO, and you know the whole story with that, they called it badly. They really are puppets for China. They called and they wanted us to stay in. I said, how much are we paying? Approximately $500 million. How much is China paying? A much larger in terms of population country. Sir, they're paying $39 million. I said, why are we paying $500 million and they're paying $39? I could tell you why, because the people that made the deal are stupid, that's why. So, and I had no idea how popular it was. I didn't even know if I would be able to politically, because people were so happy when I did get out. But I said, so if we went in, we could get it for $39 million, which is what China, not $500 million, which is what we were stupidly paying. And they said, we can make a deal. We want you to go in. We can make a deal. Okay, and I decided not to do it. But we could have had it for 39. We could have had it for the same as China. And they decide now to go back into the World Health Organization and pay $500 million. What the hell is wrong with them? No, this is just emblematic. It's a tremendous amount of money, but compared to trillions, it's not, but it's a tremendous amount of money. Why would China pay $39 million and we're paying almost $500 million? Why? So we could have made the same deal that China had, $39 million, and they just say, we're going back in. We're going back into the World Health Organization. They go back in, they pay $500. It is so sad. Just like the Iran and the World Health Organization, Joe Biden put the United States back into the very unfair and very costly Paris Climate Accord without negotiating a better deal. They wanted us so badly back in. I'll tell you, they wanted us. I was getting called from all of the countries, you must come back into the Paris Accord. I said, tell me why. Give me one good reason. First of all, China doesn't kick in for 10 years. Russia goes by an old standard, which was not a clean standard, and other countries, but we get hit right from the beginning. It would have cost us hundreds of thousands and millions of jobs. It was a disaster. But they go back in. I could have made an unbelievable deal and gone back in, but I didn't want to do that. Surrendering millions of jobs.
We seem to have lost some audio. Let me try to get it back and going here. I think it's the feed from right side. I don't know what's going on. What the heck? Bear with me here, folks. I do not know what's going on. No, don't want that one. That's us. I don't know what happened here.
energy disaster. That's what's happening.
Ah, damn it, you got to be kidding me. I don't know what's going on here, guys. My Ecamm mic sound just dropped. Allowing me to my sound.
You're great again. So
Yeah, I know we have no sound.
Yeah, no, there's a secondary feed in this messenger right above the call. It's good.
Secondary feed above the messenger.
It's right there above this call.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks. See, guys, bear with me. This is a nightmare. Come on now. This is maddening. Oh, for crying out loud. You've got to be kidding me. My computer is completely frozen up. Guys, I know Fox has it. I know Newsmax has it. I know Right Side Broadcasting has it. And it's not even... my Ecamm just disappeared from my soundboard. It's just, this doesn't happen normally. I mean, this is crazy. And now it's not letting me get into my messenger. I don't know if I'm being hacked or what the hell's going on. Come on. Guys, I got to reboot this and come back on. So check it out somewhere else, and I'll come back on here in a little bit. But I've got to reboot Ecamm because it's not taking my microphone. Maddening. It's not even showing up. I mean, not taking sound. So I'll see you here in a little bit. I got to reboot.